Hey, and welcome to the module called Motivation. This is what compels humans to take action by fueling the fire of change. In nurse coaching, motivation is responsible for initiating, guiding, and maintaining our clients' goal-oriented behaviors. Have you ever had one of those days where you just cannot seem to get up off the couch? Like your to-do list is piling up, there's laundry to be done, you have a big 4-day stretch of work that's starting tomorrow, and you gotta call your friend back. You wanna get it all done, but you're just not feeling it. And we've all had days like this, haven't we? Without motivation, we end up stagnant and perpetually stuck in the status quo. That sitting, waiting, wishing for things to change. But when we connect to our motivation, our reason for change, we feel compelled to take action. So today we're going to discuss what motivation is, how it manifests, and how we can support our clients to connect to their motivation, to harness it so that they can make positive changes in their health and well-being. So let's dive on in. First, we're going to define extrinsic versus intrinsic motivation. Now, these are the two most basic types of motivation. And while one isn't necessarily superior to the other, when it comes to that long-term sustainable change, our internal sources of motivation win out almost every single time. So let's look at each in more detail. First, we have extrinsic motivation. Now, this is sourced from anything or anyone that is outside of yourself. It often comes from a place of deficiency, believing that you're not good enough, you're not healthy enough in your current state. And when you're motivated from the outside in, it can look like changing because someone else wants you to, doing something for recognition or praise, wanting to avoid punishment, or desiring some type of reward or material good. Extrinsic motivators often jumpstart our desire to change. It might be a health scare or not being able to button your pants, seeing someone else who has something that you want. Something or someone helps you recognize that you gotta get your butt in gear, and you start to say things like, I should really start exercising more, or my wife wants me to eat better, so I guess I could try to make her happy. However, when we focus too much on rewards or when we operate too much out of fear, eventually those motivators fade away. When we focus on what's wrong or what's missing, that perceived void can continue to grow and expand, because remember, what you focus on grows. So while external motivators are great for the short term, long-term success is far more likely when we developed intrinsic motivation. This drive to change is sourced from within you, and it's focused on the desire to have a positive future while also feeling excited in the present moment. You feel that I'm complete, but not yet finished. Intrinsic motivation is connected to your personal values, your purpose, your desire to feel accomplished. It's often connected to a future goal. Now, maybe you have a desire to get fit because you want to have the energy to play with your grandkids for years to come. Or maybe you want to eat healthier because you want to be a role model for your family. When you're intrinsically motivated, you do something for the love of it. You change because it will help you do more of what you enjoy. You have a heartfelt drive to help others, a desire to be a role model. You want to make a difference. You seek the fulfillment that comes from achievement and hard work, and you feel inspired and excited to move towards your dreams. Intrinsic motivators are far more likely to lead to a sustainable lifestyle change because they're elicited from within the client. They're spoken in their own words and based on their own feelings and values and personal goals, regardless of what anyone else thinks. When we're motivated by intrinsic sources, we want what we want because we want it. We're following our intuition to live in alignment with what's most important to us. When we're motivated by our own dreams, we no longer feel deficient or stuck needing to have more. Instead, we continue to grow and learn because we're internally motivated to do more and be more. So next, let's talk about how we can start coaching from extrinsic to intrinsic. Okay, so while extrinsic motivators often spark that fire of change, intrinsic motivation is what keeps the flames burning long and strong. So when your client comes to you with external motivators, use those as a starting point. That's how you're going to get the ball rolling. But you can simultaneously be connecting their desire to change with a deeper meaning and purpose. For example, if your client comes to you initially because their doctor said that their blood pressure is too high and they need to change their lifestyle or else they could have a heart attack and die. Okay, well, they're starting from what their doctor said. They're starting from deficiency and fear. So as a nurse coach, you meet them exactly where they're at. You'll use that internal motivator to jumpstart the process of change while simultaneously seeking ways to connect to a deeper and more personal reason for change. And maybe in doing so, your client discovers that they have a future-focused goal of being able to continue their love of traveling for years to come, which can only happen if they change their lifestyle. And this intrinsic motivator connects your client to a future-focused reason for change, giving them a highly personalized reason for taking action. In summary, extrinsic motivators are often based on scarcity, deficiency, and a perceived lack. Intrinsic motivators allow us to strive towards betterment from a place of choice and connection to a deeper meaning. While a void is impossible to fill, we can always strive to improve. Now, let's look at an example to see how you can jumpstart the conversation with extrinsic motivators and use inquiry to find the intrinsic ones.
I definitely want to stop drinking soda. I just don't know if I can.
Well, I'm curious, what's most important to you right now about no longer drinking soda?
I don't want to end up sick. My father had cancer and my mom struggles with her diabetes almost every single day. Both of them ate really poorly and drank tons of soda, and I just don't want to end up like them. I think if I could just stop with the 3 cans of soda every single day, I think I'd be able to feel like my health is getting back on the right track. And my wife, she really wants me to.
I can hear that a lot comes up for you when you think about soda and how it might impact your future. I appreciate how much you value your health and your family too.
Yeah, maybe in the past I didn't think so much about that stuff, but I definitely do now. My health is really important to me right now.
That's a pretty significant shift. I'd love to know more about that, about why your health feels so important to you right now.
Well, why does my health feel so important to me right now is that I want to be healthy and strong so I can be with my family. That's the most important thing in my life. I want to be around for them, I want to be healthy and have energy for them, and I want to be a good role model, and I also want to be a good husband.
So your health is so important to you because you want to enjoy your family as best you can and to be the best role model that you can for them. What comes up for you when you think about that possibility? Like, what would your future look like if you could have all of that?
It's like I can see it. I can see this vision of myself. I'm older on the outside, but on the inside, I'm feeling 10 years younger. I'm running around the playground with my kids. I'm not huffing and puffing or sneaking off to take a sip of soda. I'm just there, present with my family, and we're all just laughing and having fun, and it feels so good.
In this example, the nurse coach has successfully helped the client to create a compelling vision for the future so that they can tap into their values and internal motivators. So now that we have a handle on the difference between those 2 types of motivation, let's examine some causes of low motivation. There are a number of factors that are going to hold your clients back from developing an impetus for change. And here are a few. First, they might be taking an all or nothing mentality. If your client gets stuck thinking that they have to get it 100% perfect or else they failed, then they're going to get discouraged by even the most minor setback. So invite them to remember that when they fall off the wagon, they can simply choose to get right back on. Every great transformation is the result of a million tiny setbacks and successes. So you can take the wins, learn from the losses, and keep the snowball rolling. Next, extrinsic motivation runs out. As we've explored, at some point, the worry and fear of focusing on what we should be doing or feeling like we're not enough is downright exhausting. And that negative spiral eventually leads to giving up. So sooner than later, work with your client to transform from those external deficiency motivators to the far more powerful intrinsic ones. Next, quick fix mentality. As humans, we tend to overestimate what we can accomplish in 3 months and underestimate what we can accomplish in 3 years. So coach your clients to play the long game, even if they're older and have limited time left. Encourage them to zoom out just a little farther to visualize what could be possible if they take consistent action every single day. And the final cause of low motivation is non-individualized coaching. By believing what worked for one client will work for another, we unintentionally or intentionally steer our clients in a specific direction under the guise of being helpful. But that itself can suck the motivation right out of the nurse coaching container. So instead, allow your client to take the lead through open-ended inquiry, which creates the most individualized plan for motivation possible. Okay, so those are some causes of low motivation: an all or nothing mentality, running extrinsic motivation too hard, having a quick fix mentality, and not individualizing our coaching. So next up, let's look at some tips to improve motivation. There are a number of simple methods to improve intrinsic motivation, all of which help your client create lasting, sustainable change from the inside out. First off, I want you to really lean into what moves your client to tears. A sense of meaning and purpose is the most powerful motivating force. If we have a dang good reason for change, then when we encounter adversity, we're more likely to harness our resilience and push through it. Now, a great way to discover what brings purpose and meaning to your clients' lives is to listen deeply for what moves them to tears. Here's what I mean. In my professional life, my purpose is to do good work in the world. And when I think about the bigger vision of nurse coaching and the millions of lives that can change, it gives me chills. And if I let myself go there and truly feel the magnitude of what I get to be part of, it brings me to tears. This is my purpose, my intrinsic motivation for continuing to grow and expand my influence as a nurse coach. So even when the going gets tough, my connection to my purpose is stronger than any obstacle that is ever going to stand in my way. So what positive vision for the future, what purpose, what dreams move your client to tears? And when you can discover that, you have literally found a main line to connect to their deepest values, their sense of meaning and purpose for living. When you've found that, you have tapped into the core of intrinsic motivation. Next tip, try to shift your client's language from I have to I choose to. When we feel like we have no choice or no autonomy over our decisions, we end up getting annoyed and disheartened and frustrated because we feel like we have lost our free will. And this is why incentive-based change, like reducing healthcare premiums in exchange for better lifestyle behaviors, it only lasts as long as the incentive does. Feeling like I have to change creates negative feelings about the process and lower amounts of motivation. However, if you can work with your clients to get them into an empowered state where they say, I choose to change, then they'll be far more likely to develop new, positive behaviors that last far longer. They'll also enjoy the process of change more because they feel like they have the authority over their decisions. Remember, be a nurse coach who co-creates empowerment, and motivation will develop intrinsically. All right, now let's look into the joy of living versus the fear of dying. Dean Ornish, who you may have heard of, has done some incredible work over the years using lifestyle medicine to reverse some of the most advanced chronic conditions. Now, very early on, he discovered that even after a huge scare, like a heart attack, patients only follow doctor's orders for a few weeks until they stop and return to their old behaviors. He realized that in order to account for the psychological, emotional, and spiritual elements of change, his patients needed to connect to something greater. So rather than motivating his patients with a fear of dying, he found ways to motivate them with the joy of living, helping them to discover all of the ways in which elevating their lifestyle could help them live happier lives, engage in better relationships, and have more energy to do the things that they love. So our tip, coach like Dean Ornish and help your clients tap into the joy of living. Next, we seek to create confidence through action. When we feel like a certain change is too massive, we often get stuck in indecision. But when we break a big goal into smaller steps, we experience a number of small successes. Each tiny success builds on that last one to create confidence. And when we experience those tiny hits of dopamine from those little successes over and over and over again, they add kindling to the fire of intrinsic motivation. It keeps on burning inside of your clients. Okay, so those are some tips to motivate. Look for what brings your clients to tears and use that to help them harness autonomy. Focus on the joy of living and use tiny actions to create success and confidence. The last thing we want to cover is how to connect your client to their deepest motivators for change. So let's start with why. Simon Sinek made this phrase go viral with a TED Talk, "Start with Why." The basic premise is that before you focus on what or how you're going to change, you got to start by connecting to your why. If you want your clients to have the highest probability of success, then you coach them to connect to their unique and innermost purpose and desire for change. Instead of starting with how you're going to get things done, start with the why. In the science of change, there are 4 key elements that come together to create wellness: desire, meaning, knowledge, and skill. Desire, want to do it. Meaning, why it's important. Knowledge, what to do, and skill, how to do it. What we're focused on right now is meaning, why change is important. And a great way to help your clients to connect with their why is by using a tool called the 5 Whys. So this technique was actually pioneered by the founder of Toyota, and it is a great way to help your clients keep on digging until they uncover the root of the problem. In the nurse coaching space, this technique can be used to help your clients uncover the intrinsic root of their desire to change. We ask why 5 times in order to peel back those layers and find the root cause of motivation. The more meaning we uncover, the stronger the motivation becomes, and the more our clients will want to improve and get better. Now, as you might recall from a previous lesson, one of our pro tips was actually to avoid the word why, because it can often carry negative overtones. However, when used intentionally, the question why can be very direct and very powerful. So when connecting to meaning and purpose, you have full permission to unleash the power of this word. Let's take a look at the 5 Whys process. In this process, you ask some iteration of the word why over and over again moving your client to a broader, overarching purpose. Now, you'll sense that your client has hit gold when they choke up, when they feel inspired or connects to one of their core values. Now, this technique requires you to hold space, to practice silence, and to ask slow and intentional questions as you peel back the layers so that you can discover a deeper understanding of what matters most to your client. Let's take a look at an example of the 5 whys in action to move a client from extrinsic motivation to an intrinsic one.
I want to have a better work-life balance. It would change everything for me, and I think it's the key to my happiness.
That's great. You have a really clear goal that you feel very strongly about. I'd like to learn more about that and what's driving this goal. Do you mind if we explore this?
Sure.
Okay, so this might feel a little strange, but I'm going to ask you why a number of times, and we'll see where it takes us. So can you tell me, why do you want to create a better work-life balance?
I'm not sure. I just think it'll feel better. I know I'll feel better.
And how do you know you'll feel better?
Because I'll be able to leave work at work, and I won't bring all that stress home with me.
And why is that so important for you?
It's important because I'll be able to spend more time with my family, like real time, just being with them and not trying to multitask, not thinking about anything but enjoying time with them.
And can you tell me, why does having more real time with your family matter so much to you?
Because my family is the only thing in my life that really matters to me. When I can't be with them, I'm so hard on myself. Or when I'm with my kids, but I'm writing emails on my phone, God, I hate myself for that. I want my kids to know I love them, that I'm there with them, and that they always come first.
And why is it so important for your kids to know that?
It's so important because it's the truth. It's the truth. It's my truth. If they know that, if they know how important they are to me, then I know I've done my job as their father.
Now, it doesn't really matter whether you use exactly 5 whys or not. Just notice how quickly that client was able to uncover a deeper meaning behind their goal. By connecting to the core of their desire, they've created a much stronger motivation for change. And remember that just like any other tool in nurse coaching, the energy and intention behind this technique, that's what's going to determine how it will land with your client. So always use this tool with curiosity and with deep compassion. After you ask each why question, pause, listen deeply, hold space, reflect their answer back to them. If you feel them moving laterally rather than reaching a deeper level, maybe ask the why question a little differently. Here are some examples. What makes that so important to you? Why do you really, really want that? For what purpose? What's the intention of that? What would be possible for you if you accomplish this? What would that create for you? Who would you be if you had that? Remember, this exercise isn't a session itself, although I suppose it could be, but rather a tool to use within a session. Discovering new and more powerful sources of motivation is an ever-evolving process. We grow, we change, and so too do our reasons for changing. In summary, that is our discussion on motivation, my friend. In general, extrinsic sources of motivation are great for sparking change, but if you want to keep it running over the long term, help your client to source internal motivation. You can do this by identifying and connecting your client's goals to a deeper meaning, an expression of their personal values, purpose, and desire to feel accomplished. Keep a lookout for some things that can deplete motivation, like all or nothing thinking, a quick fix mentality, and non-individualized coaching. And for maximum effect, find out what moves your clients to tears and help them make empowered choices while focusing on the joy of living over the fear of dying. And break those big goals down into tiny steps so you can create confidence as you go. Finally, you've got a new awesome technique so you can use the 5 whys to connect your clients to their deepest values and intrinsic motivators. Do all of that, and you have a recipe for long-term sustainable motivation. Great work today. Stay motivated, and we will see you in the next lesson.